Serious story. A 15-year-old girl at the center of this heated custody battle will be placed in custody on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's the ruling now from a juvenile court judge in the Justina Pelletier case. Her family fighting for her return back to Connecticut for more than a year now, and all of this starting when they took her to a hospital in the Bay State, Massachusetts, to be treated for a rare medical condition. Back with us today, Justina's dad, Lou, and her sister, Jennifer, and good morning, and welcome back here. This must have really, this judge was harsh. I'll get that in a moment, but first, this must be shattering.
You keep hoping for the best, as any human being would do, but with everything that's happened with this judge for the last 13 and a half months, it's like nothing surprises you, and this decision yesterday was, in my mind, not a surprise at all.
It was not a surprise. Was it to you, Jennifer?
I'm always hoping for this to end, but yes, it still was a complete shock that this happened.
The judge is Joseph Johnson, and he now says the agency in Massachusetts, the Department of Children and Families, has custody of your daughter for at least 6 months. It's backdated to December, and there's a legal process that still you're going through now. But let me just go through what the judge said. This is tough stuff as a parent, I'm certain. There's not been any progress, he alleges, by the parents. Suggested she was misdiagnosed, saying your daughter has a mental condition, not a medical condition. Allegations of verbal abuse. How do you defend yourself in front of that?
Deal with one at a time. Number one, the whole idea, there's never been a complaint about the Pelletier family regarding our daughter, our family, prior to Boston Children's Hospital getting involved. The complaints have been when DCF decided we didn't smile rightly at them or do whatever. Ultimately, it was because they had sold in that what she had was this somatoform, which was totally disregarding 2 years of expert medical opinion and advice from Tufts Medical Center, from the judge hearing it in the courtroom, from both their doctor at Tufts, including the new doctor that went from Tufts to Boston Children's, all said in court, you know, if she doesn't have somatoform, she's got mitochondrial disease. He totally disregarded those, diagnoses for a young neurologist, 6-7 months out of residency, and a young psychologist, again, coming up with this diagnosis of somatoform, which takes months to years to diagnose. The psychologist did it in 12 hours. So there's a lot of pieces that this judge kind of forgot to put in his little...
These are both outstanding medical facilities. And Jennifer, when you hear these allegations against your parents, what do you think?
None of it's true whatsoever. It's completely false. I don't understand where they're coming from with this. My family is a loving family, always looking out for the best for each other. And on the contrary, they're the ones that are neglecting my sister. Physically, mentally, medically, she looks worse. They told my sister when I talked to her the other day, you know how I mentioned that her legs are severely swollen with edema. They told her they're fine. A child should not have edema. There's something seriously going on, and they're just looking the other way. If something happens to my sister under their care, she's not going to be another number in the system. I'm sorry.
Do you think the state has, you must think that the state has the welfare of the child in mind here?
One would think.
But you find it to be exactly the opposite.
Exactly. It's insane.
The system works perfectly for DCF and hospitals to take advantage of the system. And thus is the problem. The Tufts was working fine with her, diagnosed medically, going to school, ice skating, doing all the things. Look at her now. Look at the before and after picture of Justina Pelletier.
You told us several weeks ago when we were first introduced to you that if this can happen to your daughter, it can happen to anyone's child. Why do you think that?
Because Department of Children and Families has been around roughly 20 years. They spun off of Department of Social Services. And they have almost no oversight. They're omnipotent. They can pretty much get away with whatever they want. So hospitals know that. So what happens is all hospitals have what are called child protection teams who could say, oh, we got one that we don't think is following our protocol or whatever. And obviously there's sometimes, I'm sure there's a valid reason, but more times than not, they just call Department of Children and Families. Well, Massachusetts Department of Children and Families doesn't even have their own medical director, even though money's been placed aside for it for 5 years. So who do they rely on for their medical expertise? Boston Children's Hospital. So the fox is guarding the hen house.
There is this case rather will be revisited, I think in the month of May. What are you doing now between now and then, if anything you can do?
Right off the bat, when the judge made his erroneous judgment December 20th, saying that Mass DCF had proved their case despite overwhelming evidence, so immediately an appeal was filed on December 20th. Number two, we are now filing in the Massachusetts Superior Court a writ of habeas corpus for wrongful imprisonment, which is what this is. And then the federal, all her violations for civil rights. Remember, this child has not had education. She's had no religious or Catholics. And also, she's been treated totally different than even every other patient on Beta 5 where she was and now. Every other patient there could see their family, talk freely with them, do whatever they want. With her on Mother's Day, holidays, Christmas, Easter, totally isolated, couldn't see us, couldn't talk to us. So there's been a little evil game plan that's been going on by Boston Children's.
You will not be able to do much until it looks like the end of May or early June.
Which is 4 days before her 16th birthday.
And what are you hearing online? You have a website, freejustina.com. What kind of support are you picking up, Jennifer?
On there, I haven't heard anything. I'm the administrator for A Miracle for Justina on Facebook. There's been a tremendous amount of support. And on top of it, like my dad mentioned before about how this has been happening to other people, I've had contact from people that have gone through this, and my sister's not the first case at Boston Children's Hospital. It's disgusting.
We'll see if you can be victorious next time through in the summer. Thank you for your time. I know you're back and forth between Boston, a lot of late hours and early mornings. Thank you, Lou.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.